Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The National Assembly election has come and gone, and the ruling All Progressives Congress has maintained its majority in the Senate. After elections comes the process of choosing the next leadership of both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Joining us now to speak on the next leadership of the National Assembly is PDP Senator Dino Melaye, representing Kogi West Senatorial District. Senator Dino Melaye, welcome to the morning show.
Yeah, good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Nigerians.
Yes, good to see you. Well, the National Assembly has been in the news lately over the Ninth Assembly and, the choice of the leadership, the principal officers. And the APC is saying that the PDP has no business eyeing the principal positions in the National Assembly. Both Lanre Saunilu and the chairman of the party have made this very clear. They say that they won, Nigerians voted for them, and what they are interested in is a winner-takes-all proposition to prevent what happened in 2015. What's your take on this?
Yeah, Dr. Ruben, good morning.
Good morning.
My take on this is that the chairman of APC must clearly understand that he's a legislative virgin. He is an honorary, he's claiming to be an honorary senator because you cannot elect a Senate president outside the chambers of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You may have your clandestine meetings, you may lobby outside the Senate, but at the end of the day, a Senate president can only emerge through democratic procedures as enshrined in our rules on the floor of the Senate, not outside the floor of the Senate. Adams Oshomole must recognize that the operations of the Senate is different from we no go agree, we no go agree. They are two different issues, and they have already laid down procedures and guidelines to electing a Senate president. And we will stick by those rules. And the Senate president will emerge on the floor of the Senate, not as Senate president of the APC or the Senate president of the PDP, but the Senate president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So that very myopic, porous, and intellectually stagnant approach and statements, I'm not taking it I'm taking it with a pinch of salt because it's statements coming out of gross ignorance.
Well, Senator Melaye, you and Senator Biodun Olujimi, you had cause to issue a statement recently responding to the allegation by the APC that Senator Bukola Saraki is trying to stage manage the choice of the leadership for the Ninth Assembly. What exactly is the issue? Because there seems to be some kind of apprehension on the part of the APC that in 2015, Senator Bukola Saraki and his deputy Senator Ikwere Madu got in there by amending on their own unilaterally the Senate Standing Orders 2011. What exactly do the rules say?
One, I want to start by saying that, again, these are quotations from people of inordinate ambition, capricious manifestation, and most times reaction formation. For those who really understand the workings of the National Assembly, and specifically the Senate, they will not attribute the false allegation they are brewing against the person of Senator Olubukola Saraki. Saraki is not holding any clandestine meetings, but it will be foolhardy for anyone to think that as a Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you will not be concerned about what is happening. But for all those allegations of meetings, holdings, there's nothing like that. And I will rather advise, like we stipulated in our press briefing, that they allow the man concentrate in the 2 more months we have to wrap up the 8 Senates. There's still a lot to be done. They should allow him to concentrate and carry out his legislative responsibilities. So I don't know why they are afraid of his shadows. I don't know why they are agitated. I don't know why they are concerned. And the issue of the Senate president can only be done on the floor of the Senate. So why are you afraid of a man that you have so traumatized, you have so humiliated? And why do you think you still have some capacity to truncate your agenda? So I think they should get out of their high fever. And our conclusion is that those trying to malign the person and character of the president of the Senate should desist from doing that, because the man is concentrating on rounding up his term with the Senate. And there's been a lot of very cynical talks by even the the chairman of the APC before now, even concerning the position and person of Bukola Saraki. At the end of the day, you all know that those are beer parlor discussions that hold no water. Bukola Saraki is still the president of the Nigerian Senate, and he will be till the end of his term, despite all the rantings, all the accusations and orchestrations of the APC. So we're not perturbed at all. We are focused as a party. The Senate is dynamic in nature. 1 + 1 is not always 2 when it comes to politics, especially legislative politics. For those who know, I would just say that it's dynamic, and miracles do happen.
First of all, congratulations on your re-election, Senator Melaye.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Now, how open will this race be, according to what you're envisaging? Will the PDP as a party adopt a consensus candidate and advise you, senators-elect, on who to elect? Or will you conduct a straw poll, like the APC did in 2015, to assess each candidate's popularity or acceptability to the other senators-elect? And is there going to be a zoning formula applied by the PDP? If so, what?
Basically, as I speak to you, my party is yet to take a decision, is yet to say anything concerning zoning or sharing of positions in the National Assembly. Until they do that, I may not have anything to say. But I want to say that the PDP is a democratic institution, and the principles of democracy will be adhered to strictly in whatever is going to happen on the floor. We will not do anything outside regular conventions of the legislature or parliament. We will not do anything outside the provisions of our extant laws and rules. Being a very democratic party, we will only carry out the basic tenets of democracy. But I assure you that we will have no problem filling the gaps. And when we get to that bridge, we'll surely cross it.
Well, Senator, I have 2 questions for you. First, what are the chances of your party? Do you have a shot at those presiding offices that the APC is insisting that you should not eye because you're in the minority? Because clearly, at the last check, you had just about 35 senators in the House. That's 1. 2, let me take you back to the standing order question that Dr. Abati asked you. What exactly does the order say? Because this in itself has become a subject of litigation. You would recall that there was an investigation by the police. And just looking at the controversial sections of that standing order, where it brought in electronic voting and secret ballot, and he also talked about all senators participating in the election of a Senate president. But what we saw in 2015, and you were a part of that, we saw just barely 60 senators bringing in Dr. Bukola Saraki and Senator Ikwe as leadership.
First, to start with, the election of the President of the Senate is an election by senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You cannot discontinue the participation of any senator irrespective of religious, political, or ethnic affinity. So that is very sacrosanct, that is clear. Whether the PDP will be taking a shot at the presidency of the Senate, that will manifest when we get to the floor of the Senate. And talking about the rules, I want to say that the provisions of our extant rules and standing orders of the Senate is very, very clear. It's not ambiguous, it's crystal clear. We inherited rules in 2015. When we came in, we did not put that rule together, but every senator, after taking his oath of office, was given standing rules and of the Senate and a copy of the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria. And that rules is what we inherited. We cannot discard it. We cannot tamper with it until two-thirds of the Senate amend that provision in question. And the provision is very clear that we're going to have a secret ballot. And the Senate President or the Deputy President of the Senate will only emerge through secret ballot and just simple majority votes by senators present on the day of inauguration, as administered by the clerk of the National Assembly, assisted by the clerk of the Senate. So, I mean, there's no ambiguity, there's no controversy, there's no question. And that rule is, in fact, this particular 8th Senate is a product of that rule. And we have used that rule throughout our operations in the 8th Senate. And we are still guided by that same rule. Everyone who is in the 8th Senate has been quoting from that 2015 rules of the Senate. So I do not understand why they want to change the goalposts in the middle of the game. And that is apparently not even possible. That a matter is in court and is being investigated by the police, it's not enough to discard that. It's like if you say because somebody's on trial or a particular rule, then that rule is discarded until two-thirds majority amend that provision or section of the rules on the floor of the Senate. It remains the law. It remains our guiding principle, and anyone trying to toy with that is just boxing the wind. It's just wasting his time.
Well, Senator Melaye, the controversy really is about the Senate Standing Orders 2015. And the matter is, some people say, in fact, whatever has been done by the 8th Assembly would constitute a nullity, can be considered null and void, because it wasn't the 7th Assembly that amended the rules to produce the Senate Standing Orders 2015. That it was something that was done unilaterally by 4 persons who have been identified. And, but that's not the question I want to ask. Senator Sabi Abdullahi, the spokesperson of the National Assembly, says that we shouldn't expect any controversy over the choice of the leadership of the 9th National Assembly, because members of the PDP are really, really not against the APC. That what we're just reading in the newspapers is just drama. Is there an understanding already between the PDP and the APC, away from the headlines that we read, that the APC should take all the leadership, the principal positions, because they are in the majority, apparently, as they claim?
Anyway, I will not join issues with my brother and friend, Senator Sabi. Senator Sabi is, on this particular matter, is speaking as a senator representing the senatorial districts, and is just 1 out of 109. I'm sure he is exercising his personal opinion. There is no cooperation agreed on. There's no agreement between the APC and the PDP. There's no agreement between darkness and light, where obviously PDP is the light. I also want to say that when we get to the floor, we will elect a Senate president. And until we get to that floor, there's nothing stops negotiations, nothing stops lobbying, nothing stops us trading, nothing. It is when we get to the floor that on final decision can be taken. But before now, anyone saying anything is just praying and assuming. But I want to tell you, like I said, even on the floor of the National Assembly, on the floor of the Senate, on the floor of the House of Reps, miracles do happen, and they can happen.
Well, let me ask you about the motion you moved recently about the militarization of the political process and the non-application of electoral laws by INEC. When you moved that motion, there was almost a physical combat on the floor of the Senate. Can you shed more light on your position with regard to the recent elections and what you described as militarization and non-application of electoral laws?
Yeah, there's a lot of very vague understanding of that motion by many, and many of the APC senators were playing into the gallery because we were live on TV, and they wanted to definitely appreciate their paymasters or their godfathers, as the case may be. So many of them, for no reason, were just being agitated and being confrontational so that they can be seen as attacking Dino or attacking the PDP, which was not necessary at all. Having said that, the motion is a very straightforward motion. We have no other country to call our own but this country, Nigeria. I begin to ask myself, if in the United States of America, election conducted and a member of the parliament was killed in the process of that election, and many innocent Nigerians, including youth corps members who innocently agreed to serve their nation, killed, lecturers who agreed to pay civic responsibility and serve their nations were killed, Nigerians in their tens and dozens were massacred and unceremoniously sent to their graves. And will the parliament in the United States of America not discuss such a national issue or an issue of national importance? So my bringing it up is for us as senators of the Federal Republic, not as politicians. Like I said on the floor of the Senate, where is UPN today? Where is NPN? Where is NRC? Parties will come and go, but this country, by the grace of the Almighty God, will remain. So I wanted us to have a robust debate on the inadequacies, the shortcomings, the militarization of the process, the taking over of the INEC secretariat in Rivers State by the military, even deciding who goes in and who goes out. I don't think INEC is a branch or a department of the Nigerian Army. So bringing up that motion was for us to have a constructive debate with ameliorative measures, palliative measures, with ameliorative and palliative measures against a repeat of such in the nearest future. And it's really appalling that it was being challenged by my colleagues from the APC. And not only being challenged by my colleagues in the APC, the fourth prayer of that motion is requesting Mr. President to keep to his promise that after the elections, he will sign the electoral law that will give us a better electoral process, that will give us a better election, that will also produce, that will make the process, more transparent. Unfortunately, this is a bill put together by the Senate, but the APC senators all shouted nay to the president signing the electoral law as passed, So you begin to wonder then that it's like killing your own baby, or attempting to kill your own baby. So basically, my challenge was against the processes of the election. I did not speak about the figures of the elections or who won and who did not win, because all these is going to be subjudiced because cases are in court. But nothing stopped the parliament from discussing electoral processes and the way it has been handled and the misapplication of the extant laws of INEC and its application by INEC itself. So there's nothing wrong with discussing that with a view of, even if it is to have a 1 minute silence for great Nigerians who have lost their soul as a result of the militarization of this process. But I don't know why my colleagues in the APC were agitated and they didn't want to discuss it. When I even moved a matter of urgent importance to discuss the matter, they vehemently resisted that it should not be discussed on the floor. But at the end of the day, we discussed it. At the end of the day, all the prayers were answered. And what happened in Kano last weekend, honestly, those manifestations eventually vindicated me that I should have brought that motion ab initio. And nothing has changed. The militarization of the process continued. You saw what happened in Kano, open brazenly. People were being killed, people were being assaulted, and security agencies abated these crimes and electoral offenses. So I'm actually in shock, and I do believe that there should be a national discourse on the militarization of elections in Nigeria. There must be a national discourse, and somebody must answer for this. Somebody must pay for this, because we have a future. We have our kids all watching us and expecting that we do the needful about this. Keeping silent about it will not help us at all. And I do expect that the president must definitely get his seatbelt fastened. He must, as a matter of national urgency and importance, address these issues. Killings have gone on, militarization of the process, rivers, Kogi, everywhere there's violence. And as the father of the nation, as the leader of the nation, I have some interruptions there.
No,
Okay.
we can hear you
As the
clearly.
leader and the father of the nation, these issues must be addressed, should be addressed, and our president must speak to us. Our president must speak on these issues. He cannot keep mute in the face of this obvious obscurity. No, he can't.
Now, Senator, even though you just said you tried to avoid inflammatory topics like who won what and who did not, we all saw the pandemonium that ensued as a result of your motion. How do you think that the 9th National Assembly can douse these tensions that bedeviled the 8th National Assembly, that are partly to blame for some of the tragedies that you itemized just now, the loss of Nigerian lives in the electoral process? A zero-sum game of politics. The stakes are so high, it costs people their lives. What do you think the National Assembly can do to start to correct some of these issues? And still on the to the victor go the spoils model of politics that we practice in Nigeria, that PDP is trying to, I don't know, alter at this point in their bid for the Senate presidency. Do you think that your bid for Senate presidency now, at such a time of heightened tension in the country, will be useful in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I lost you halfway there, but if I understand what you're trying to say, you're talking about what I think the 9th Senate will be doing as regards all these atrocities, all these infractions, electoral infractions as committed in the 2019 elections.
And to
Basically,
douse the
I want
tension,
to believe that
I'm sorry, Senator, I also asked you what the 9th National Assembly will do.
Yeah, basically what I'm saying in essence is this. Every legislator, every parliamentarian, every senator should be concerned about the magnitude and intensity of death, of violence that have visited the 2019 elections. Except you have kerosene flowing through your brains and not blood. Except you have, what I call arthritis of the brain. There's no senator who's got blood flowing through his veins who will not be concerned, who will not be disturbed about our electoral process, especially the conduct of the 2019 election. It's never been this terrible. It's never been this bad. So I will definitely be making some moves in the 9th Senate to create a national discourse for this, and not just that we must have enabling laws that will help to make it impossible, if not, to be clearly stated in our electoral laws that the military have no role at all in our electoral process. A situation in Rivers where there was altercation between the police and the army is a national and international disgrace. on us as Nigerians and integrity of this country. And unfortunately, the leadership of this country is not saying anything because maybe they are the beneficiaries of this process, outrageous processes. So I just want to say that I will definitely be kickstarting a national discourse on the floor of the Senate in the 9th Assembly to amend, ameliorate, and create electoral reforms through the instrumentality of amendment to our existing laws.
Senator, I want to repeat my question so that you...
I definitely will be kickstarting such an electoral revolution because these satanic manifestations of this government, of these elections, have revealed the need for electoral reform. I've revealed the need for us to definitely amend our electoral processes and laws to meet these wicked and nefarious challenges of recent times.
I'd like to repeat my question, Senator. I said that in your response to Dr. Abati, you mentioned how you avoided inflammatory topics such as who won what elections and who did not win. And yet, even though you were trying to be tactful, we saw the pandemonium that ensued as a result of the motion that you moved. And it's just a reminder of the kind of tensions that caused the deaths that you referred to. What will the National Assembly do to douse these tensions? The tension between the National Assembly and the executive that we witnessed in the 8th Assembly, and also just the general tension between different political parties, between the parties and the electorate, who are the victim of these tensions. What do we do to lower the temperature, as it were? And do you feel that PDP vying for roles for the presiding officer as a minority in the Senate is worsening the issue that we have now?
Basically, I will start by saying that like I said, will kickstart the process of having such a national discourse in the 9th Assembly. And I want to say that in lowering the temperature, discussing this issue from a very objective, sincerity of purpose of heart and commitment angle, it's not supposed to create any tension. It is those who politicize debates on the floor of the Senate that's actually creating these problems. And maybe many of the APC senators were scared because at that time, anything now is possible in this country. Maybe they were afraid of their elections being declared as inconclusive. So they were trying to play to the gallery to keep their seat or their certificate of return being withdrawn, because we've seen a lot of things we naturally thought are impossible in this country happening now. But having said that, it's not strange, abnormal for there to be tension between the executive and the legislature. We're not supposed to be romantic lovers. We're supposed to check each other. So it is not a misnomer for the National Assembly to check the executive, to ask questions, or to, in fact, Nigerians will be in trouble if there is a very unpeaceful, when I mean peaceful, not in terms of violence or war, when I mean, if there's that cordiality to the extent that Nigerians have been shortchanged, then democracy will be in trouble. The legislature have a basic constitutional responsibility of checking the executive, and the legislature should be seen to be doing that. Not to be confrontational, not to be antagonistic, but we must be seen to carry out our constitutional responsibility and role of supervising and carrying out oversight function over the MDAs and indeed the executive as a whole. So if every legislator, with every sincerity of purpose, of heart and commitment, carry out his legislative responsibilities, putting Nigeria before party, making national interests our focus and cardinal objective, then we will make progress. All these tensions come when we put our political parties, our primordial sentiments, our selfish interests ahead of national interests. The national chairman of the APC is not helping matter. No responsible chairman will speak in the manner he spoke. because already his statement is enough to even create tension, and his statement is already creating tension. No national chairman in the history of this country have addressed this country in such manner. We've had elections in the past, and no national chairman will come and address the country in this manner and say committees that are juicy will only go to APC. He's not even talking of the leadership of principal offices in the National Assembly. He's talking about even committees, as if the National Assembly or the Senate is just constituted by the APC. No, it's not true. Even the party with one senator on the floor of the Senate should have a voice and should participate in the running and operations of that place. But because, like I said, he's a legislative virgin, he does not understand the workings and operations of the Senate. He may apply this we no go agree approach to legislative duties. So we pardon him for not knowing, because if he knows, he will not speak in that manner. Because the National Assembly is the National Assembly. It's not an extension of APC Secretariat. And it will never be as long as some of us remain there.
Well, Senator rightly said, when you said, the legislature is not to confront the executive, but to put it in check. But a lot of people were disappointed when the 8th National Assembly did not rise to that occasion, when the president failed to sign the Electoral Amendment Bill into law ahead of these elections, which many say would have curbed some of the infractions we are seeing. So why did the National Assembly not rise up to the occasion at that point? And then my second question to you is that the president recently has restated the importance of a supportive legislative arm for national development. He highlights budget passing, late budget passing. Do you take responsibility for this? And what would the 9th Assembly do differently to ensure that we have a regular budget cycle in Nigeria?
Well, maybe I will start from the latter. To start with, it is not true that the National Assembly is responsible for the delay of the budget. The executive is always maligning and blackmailing the National Assembly to generate public sympathy. The budget normally comes late to start with. If you will recall that it took the President of the Senate writing Mr. President, reporting ministers and heads of government agencies and parastatal that they have refused to come and defend their budget. The President made a broadcast directing all MDAs to go and defend their budgets before the National Assembly. All this took a lot of time. It took a lot of time. So basically, if you bring the budget in good time, and there is a budget before now, let me put this straight. There is always a collabo between the National Assembly and the executive, even before the budget is passed. There is this cordiality, there is this interface between committees and the ministers. So by the time the budget is coming from the budget office, even to the president, before it's transmitted to the National Assembly, the budget is already a product of the contributions of committees and the ministries. So it makes it less cumbersome, it makes it easy and fast for everyone to pass. But these days, under this administration, is a different ball game, and it's responsible for the delay. But I want to say that on both ends, we must make sure that national interest comes before parochial interest, before individual interest. If we put that ahead, then we will normalize the normal budgeting system from January to December. That will be normalized. And coming back to the other question, I want to say, without fear or favor, I'm having some interference. I don't know.
Go ahead, Senator.
Okay. Coming back to the other question, I want to say without fear or favor that the truth of the matter is this, that every legislator, every senator in the 9th Assembly must decide to either walk through the light of creative altruism or will perish in the darkness of destructive selfishness. It is not about your political party. It is not about your ethnic national group or your religion or your parochial myopic interest. It is about Nigeria. And I am using this opportunity to call on Nigerians, all Nigerians, to hold their leaders in the National Assembly accountable. Many of us do carry out some undemocratic, unconstitutional roles in the National Assembly. And we still go back to the electorate who chair us and most of the times get us back to the National Assembly. Anyone who will go against national interests openly, anyone who will do things that are not inconsistent with the provisions of our extant laws should be called to question by the public, by the electorates. And the system used to coerce the National Assembly in the last, why your question is why we did not react. If I want to get you in clear terms, X, Y, Z of what you're trying to say is that we ought to have vetoed the president. We ought to have used our numbers to force that that electoral bill be signed to law. That was not possible at that time because the executive or the presidency used all means within their disposal to check some senators who were not bold enough. They threatened people with tickets in their their positions in the. So many people were afraid that if I'm antagonistic, I won't get a ticket to come back. If they threatened some people with court cases, they threatened some people with code of conduct harassment, they threatened some people with EFCC, they threatened some people with ICPC. So there was this very cloudy environment at that time that actually allowed senators to operate from their cocoons. But not everyone was bold enough to take the bull by the horn. And I think it worked for the executive.
Well, Senator Melaye.
That's the reason why it's not. But going forward, I think, like I said, we must all put the nation ahead of our personal
Senator
interests.
Melaye.
Nigeria must work first. Yeah.
Yeah, just before we bring this to a close, just two follow-up questions. And please, I'd like you to just address the questions briefly. One, you referred to something about juicy committees. Are there really juicy committees in the National Assembly? And is this whole fight all about who gets what juicy committee? And if you may just identify those juicy committees. Then second, do you see the possibility of the National Assembly still passing the budget before the 8th Assembly moves on and we have the 9th Assembly? Because we had the 3rd hearing on the budget, and it looks like most of your colleagues are still protesting that this is a budget of impossibilities as proposed.
Basically, I want to start by saying that I'm quoting the national chairman of APC, who used the word juicy committees 2 days ago. It's not my creation, so he will be the one in the position to elucidate what he meant by juicy committee. For me, I'm out for a life of service. And wherever you find yourself in the National Assembly, you must carry out your role as a legislator. So it was not my creation. I think that question should be directed to Adams Oshomole, who made that statement 2 days ago. Then talking about if the budget will be passed before the expiration of our tenure in the 8th Assembly, I would say yes, because we've met and we've agreed that we should pass the budget as empty as it is, as uninspiring as it is. We must have a budget as a working tool. So I know that most committees are already carrying out inviting the MDAs for their defense. I chair the committee on FCT, and the Minister of FCT appeared before me on Tuesday and defended the budget. And I know by the time we resume, most of the budget defense would have been concluded. And I see us, definitely we will pass the budget before the expiration of our tenure.
Has any of the PDP senators or senators-elect declared an intention to vie for either of the leadership positions in the Senate, Senate President or Deputy Senate President?
I'm sure we'll all get to know at the same time. If anybody has indicated, it will be in the news.
Well, on that note, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senator Dino Melaye.
Thank you very much, Mr.
For coming to the morning
Ruben,
show. This has been very engaging indeed. I'm sure we'll invite you again. All the best.
Thank you. The pleasure is
Yes,
mine.
thank you. It's time now for a short break.
Very well. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation on the tussle for the next leader of the upper and lower houses of the National Assembly with the Executive Director, Order Paper Nigeria, OK Apia. Stay with us.